proud of the group, the way they did it, created goal scoring chances. Gets end of the MLS games always get crazy, so maybe a little bit more under control, but really proud of the team and just the way they came together. The guys, the solutions that came off the bench, I think made a really big impact, and so credit to those guys to be ready, and yeah, just a great team performance.
We're going to start with questions. We'll start with Steve. If you guys have two, go ahead and ask them, and we'll go to Jacob and Ben.
Steve Lehman, Channel 5, Nashville. BJ, talk a little bit about the craziness. You've come out on the wrong end of a couple of these that have been decided in the final few minutes. To be pushing the way you were in the second half and to finally get over the hump tonight, how good does that feel and how rewarding is that?
Yeah, I think, during the week and even right before the match, we told, the message to the guys and, from all of us was we want to have this 90-minute mentality that we're playing like ourselves for 90 minutes. And some of those lessons we had to learn in the past couple weeks. But I think, we were able to do that, and really proud of the guys just to stick together and put in a big shift tonight versus a very, very good Salt Lake team that can hurt you in a lot of ways. And so, tonight I think we end up on the right side of a result versus a really good team.
Yeah. BJ, what kind of confidence and maybe momentum comes from a win like this, come from behind win, I think your first of the season, and then a win the final, few minutes of the game, especially after two losses that have come that way?
Yeah, I mean, I just think for us it's sticking to evaluating our performances and kind of trying to always get better. And we thought we've been putting in good, I would say good performances over the last couple of weeks, with maybe the end result not going our way and having to use those moments to learn from. And tonight I thought, we were able to sort of take another mini step forward with that, taking some learning lessons and now applying it and being able to get the result tonight.
And what were your thoughts on, I guess the defense without Walker Zimmerman, especially Jason Palacios making his first start?
Yeah, I think, again, we have a next man up mentality here. So Jason was the next guy to step up, made his first, MLS debut, Nashville debut as a starter. And, I think he did a really good job. I think the whole back line plus Joe, did a good job. It's a dynamic attacking team that they were up against that send a lot of numbers forward. And they handled a lot of situations and made good adjustments. I think they adjusted well throughout the throughout the end of the first half into the second half. So a good credit to the whole back line.
Go Ben and then Nick and Claudia.
Yeah, BJ, it looked like Hani and Sam were a little bit frustrated with each other coming off at halftime, I guess after maybe some of the misconnections. And then obviously Hani taking the ball initially to take the penalty kick and then handing it off to Sam at the last minute. What did you just kind of make of their interaction?
Yeah, I would look at that as sort of two separate moments. I think that the first moment of being upset after the first half, that's I think two competitors that want to score goals. And we talked together as a group of there's going to be frustration when there's goal scoring chances out there. And that's what we had in the first half, and that's what we built on in the first half to the second half was we knew that we were going to get chances. So it was just about staying focused and seizing that moment when it arrives. I think what you see with the penalty might be a little bit of not so much between Sam and Hani, maybe a bit of gamesmanship as to keeping people guessing as to who might take it.
And then I wanted to ask about Gaston. It felt like he had a really important performance in midfield and was pushing a lot of the chance creation from midfield. What did you just make of his performance?
Yeah, I thought Gaston does a really good job of controlling the tempo of the game. He's able to go and settle it down and get it off the back line. But at the same time, when it's time to transition or break lines and advance us forward, you saw that he has that ability. I wish some of his final passes came off tonight because there was a few real close ones that, he was almost playmaking at the top of the box. But a really good performance, and I think a lot of what he does and maybe gets noticed is with the ball, but his work rate, his ability to sort of cut passing lanes, his ability to sort of intercept balls and deflect balls without defensively, I think maybe doesn't he doesn't get as much credit as he deserves.
BJ, coming into this game, Palacios making his MLS debut. I want to get your thoughts on just the way Andy Nahar played along with Palacios and the rest of the back four, because it seemed like he was more picking and choosing his battles when to kind of incorporate himself into the attack. Whereas in the second half, I guess when Yazbek came on, it just seemed like more of a natural flowing attack for your side. Just speak a bit about his performance and just the rest of everybody incorporating that midfield.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Andy had a big challenge tonight. The way Salt Lake plays is, they're in the first half they're overloading his side with a player rolling out, a player low, and a player high. So it's almost 3 players on that side. So it was for him. I think he handled it really well in a difficult situation with the connection of Gaston, Jason, Andy, and Ahmed. And I think in the second half those guys were able to make a few adjustments. And we were able to defend it a little bit differently, which maybe kept Andy home a little bit longer. But at the same time, I thought the connection of the whole back four all the way to the last header that Andy makes, which is a big play, and at the end of the game to just kind of clear it out of danger. So a good performance from him.
I was going to follow up with that. I guess how much that had to contribute to Palacios and just the familiarity into the starting lineup. Did it have anything to do with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, we're always trying to build relationships, so it's going to take time. You're going to need game time together. And so it's sort of I wouldn't just say it's kind of the whole right side of the field that are sort of learning. And as much as you train it, you need the games, and you don't know what the opponent's going to do until they do it. So I thought those guys, worked through the game together in a really smart and adaptable way.
BJ, we have a kind of a conversation during the week, trying to guess what you will do this week in terms of replacing Walker. Obviously, we know now, but what was your thought process? Because a lot of us thought that Bauer would be starting there because he's done it before and all that stuff. But what's your thought process instead of deciding for Jason is with a few minutes before doing Bauer in the middle?
Yeah, I think it's for us. I think it's kind of straightforward. Jason was the next center back up. Josh, we've been training as the right back in competition with Andy. Where there's a little bit. Julian Gaines is out injured, so that sort of creates like Josh sliding over there and being able to be cover for Andy at this point and compete for the position with Andy. And so for us it was just Jason was the next man up, and he'll continue to compete for that position as well.
Now, when you always tell us about the everybody defends, everybody attacks on this team, and of course that shows better sometimes depending on the rival. But when you look at Dan Lovitz scoring that header right there in the middle of the small area almost, what was your feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dan's a guy who tells us every week he wants to be in the attacking set pieces, and then he can head the ball. So I think it was, Dan being a true pro and focused on what his roles and responsibilities are, no matter what sort of job he's given. I thought, and kind of, doing your job, and Dan capitalized on it, but it was a big moment for us to kind of get that to go 1-1 and I think settle the game down a little bit. So it's again, each kind of phase of play you have a role and a responsibility, and he was able to execute.
BJ, to start the game, it looked like RSL had the best, a better outcome, I guess, for the first 20 minutes or so. It looked like they were more in control. There were a lot of chances they created, and then kind of everything switched from that point on. And Nashville, you guys played yourself back into the game. Can you just explain maybe what happened there in terms of, was it something they were doing, or was it something that you guys did to switch it up and maybe try to be on the front foot?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first 15, 20 minutes, they were on the front foot, and we were not. We came out slow. With the ball, I think we were just a little bit slow, a little bit disconnected, not kind of finding really good ways to break through them. and even at the same time, I thought we missed a few opportunities to kind of play behind them with sort of the pressure that they were putting on us. But I think, we were able to make a few adjustments after that point. I think we were able to sort of get Gaston and Eddie on the ball a little bit more. We talked about Gaston kind of controlling the tempo. I think, trying to create a couple overloads in the first half, was a little bit more on that right side. And I thought we started to have a little bit of success. And then, I think defensively we picked it up. We're probably a little bit, let's say, disconnected or a bit passive in sort of how we wanted to press the middle players. And then once we started to create those turnovers, I thought we were able to get some momentum going.
And then you mentioned the substitutions and the contribution that they brought in. When you're looking at Perez and Schaffelberg, what do they need to do to earn a start? And did they do enough tonight to maybe be considered?
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw the positive impact they all made, and not only from a standpoint of, like their output, but just their adaptability. Patrick comes in and plays kind of in the right wing position and then moves into center mid. Jacob kind of plays left winger and then ends the game playing left wing back in a pseudo back five to try to close the game out. I think you saw Johnny. I mean, 5 seconds into his appearance, he almost has a chance. So, a really good mentality for those guys. And I think, they know when their number's called, they're showing that they're going to be ready. And I think, it shows across the board that we have confidence to go, to the team, whether it's Jason stepping up, and we've had Josh Bauer step up, and Jacob and Johnny and Gaston and those guys like Patrick. They're, I think you're starting to see a group that's a really close connected group that, knows their roles and knows their responsibilities and comes with a great mentality to compete every day.